What's up, world? What's up, Zion? It's Prince Easy coming at you once again. And as usual, I do have a couple slides that I want to share with you today. This fine Sunday that we're having here, right? So, um, as usual, uh, I want to issue a copyright disclaimer for all the copywritten material that's going to be shown in this here video for the purpose of criticism, commentary, and all of the above. So, let's get to it, right? So, this happened, didn't get a lot of coverage though. Well, I'm just gonna show you some stuff, and at the end of this I'm gonna tell you why this is happening or why I think this is happening. Hey, look at that. You have another black man. As if one makes it to the top in Hollywood without being dirty in one way or the other. Like seriously, this is a game, and people should stop participating. Let's just say that. Wow, look at that. So they burnt the Quran and the Shia seminary and the Soleimani statue burned. They have footage and everything. Right? I'm just here to show you what does this have to do with the currency going down. Like it's confusing. There's something wrong with people today. There is. Okay, take it from more. There is seriously something wrong. This has not been getting a lot of talk or backlash or anything from the US or the West, or much in terms of action from the East. It is evolving. Now it has evolved to something else, right? And of course, a peculiar thing, right? These banners are always in English. Well, this one happened, right? This is also happening in the so-called contested maritime areas. Okay? Secretary of Defense, no, Secretary of War. Oh, he changed his name back. This happened. Look at that. This Russian is recruiting UK's, I don't know, to go fight for Russia, I think. I don't know.
The bad history between Zionists and African Americans.
People don't realize who brought the slaves to America. They were Jewish ships.
First, the vast majority of slave ships that crossed the Atlantic was actually owned by them. And as they were top of the shipping, they also had top priority as first customers. And they were so involved in the slave trade and the slave auctions that if a slave auction actually fell on a Jewish holiday, it was postponed. Then later in American history, most African American civil rights organizations like the NAACP were created by and led by Zionists such as Joel Spingarn, who actually worked in military intelligence. He was a military spy. He was one of the founding fathers, and they named the NAACP Merit Award that they give out every year after him, still to this day. That's right, the NAAC Merit Award is not even named after a black person, but a Zionist. And black people were not even allowed to lead in the top position of the NAACP until decades after it was created in 1955 by Roy Wilkins. And still to this day, all African American civil rights, all their organizations and all their movements are not allowed in any way to be anti-Semitic. Not just in civil rights organizations, but even in black media. BET, Black Entertainment Television, the entire black music industry, all the movies, all the sitcoms, that is all Zionist owned and they profit off all that too. No one but your own people should own your media. All of African American media belongs to African Americans, and that should be handed back to them. With Zionist control over the press and education system, Zionists only portray black history in a very negative way, constantly reminding them that they were slaves and nothing else. Most black people don't even know of all the great achievements they've had in the past, even that they were the pharaohs and leaders of the Egyptian empire in the last 200 years of the empire. And go ahead, look up the black pharaohs. There's many statues in history about that, but most African Americans don't even know about that. A positive history can be productive and motivating to a people, and they're depriving them of that, only keeping things strictly negative. The BLM movement itself, the co-chair directors, Susan Rosenberg, the one who made sure that everyone was a highly trained Marxist, and who was directing their money and their politics. And just like the NAACP, they were only maneuvering them around for their own benefit, hijacking other people's civil rights for their own benefit and motivations. Once Joe Biden won, BLM just kind of disappeared, didn't it? Is that a coincidence? No. And police brutality under Biden actually increased, which was the number one thing that BLM was motivated about. But then all of a sudden, they don't want to mention that anymore. Zionists hate all of us. They use all of us against each other in one big giant political chess game. Don't ever fall for this. Everybody, don't be tricked, don't be ruled, and don't be controlled by them. See who your real enemies are. And keep exposing the truth and exposing real history, too.
Once you have these lines on a map and you have created the thing you call the nation, it's a big problem. So Africa has, in a sense, missed the first opportunity, and this is the thing I said in East Africa, that in East Africa, we should have become united before we became independent, before we became separate states. We should have done that. I did advocate that in 1960. I didn't even go as far as saying, realizing this, I went as far as saying, Tanganyika must delay our independence, or ought to delay our independence, so that we all become united, and then we take our independence. Well, this did not happen. The reasons I understand, but I felt it was a great pity that we did not become united before we became independent. Hence now the difficulties. We now become separately independent, and as a result, since we are sovereign states, it's extremely difficult. And for the time being, quite frankly, we must forget the possibility of a political merger in East Africa. Things like economic cooperation, this we are maintaining with great difficulty, but I think we'll maintain. Now, this is true of Africa. If it is true on a small scale, like East Africa, where we have a common language, Swahili and English, common traditions of government, because all of us have been under British rule, with common services, we have no railways, all railways are East Africans, and all East African railways, and all sorts of things, common currency, and all sorts of things running together. If this is difficult, obviously it's going to be much more difficult on the continental basis.
His name was Cristobal Colon, so his family was Jewish, and in the country he was in, they had to transfer over, or they were going to get kicked out. They had to become Christians. So why everyone thinks Christopher Columbus was a Christian, he grew up Jewish bloodline, Jewish family, so he put on a front. This is how you know it's stamped, though. This is how you know it's stamped. He set sail on August 3rd, 1492. The day after the expulsion of Jews from Spain, he took sail. And that's what it was. And they told him, they said basically, this is most likely what happened. He got kicked out. They knew he's still in his heart, he's Jewish. Hey, listen, Columbo, go and try to find homeland for you guys. So America was already promised to them. That's why they run it now. And shit was promised to them. And they were going to name America after Columbus. But before he got to America, savage. But guess the textbooks we read.
I was just about to say, they told us we're a whole
McGraw-Hill.
Yeah.
And guess who McGraw-Hill is? Ghislaine Maxwell's dad. He owned that. His name.
My opinion that you do not really understand the concept of banking. All the banks are broke. Bank Santander, Deutsche Bank, Royal Bank of Scotland, they're all broke. And why are they broke? It isn't an act of God. It isn't some sort of tsunami. They're broke because we have a system called fractional reserve banking, which means that banks can lend money that they don't actually have. It's a criminal scandal, and it's been going on for too long. To add to that problem, you have moral hazard, a very significant moral hazard from the political sphere. And most of the problem starts in politics and central banks, which are part of the same political system. We have counterfeiting, sometimes called quantitative easing, but counterfeiting by any other name. The artificial printing of money, which if any ordinary person did, they'd go to prison for a very long time. And yet governments and central banks do it all the time. Central banks repress the amount of interest that rates are, so we don't have the real cost of money, and yet we blame the real retail banks for manipulating LIBOR. The sheer effrontery of this is quite astonishing. It's central banks that manipulate interest rates, Commissioner. And plus, underneath all this, we talk loosely, in a rather cavalier fashion, do we not, about deposit guarantees. So when banks go broke through their own incompetence and chicanery, the taxpayer picks up the tab. It's theft from the taxpayer. And until we start sending bankers, and I include central bankers and politicians, to prison for this outrage, it will continue.
Well, discovery, right? There's a lot of binary machinery, even here in Africa. So, we're gonna go into this particular video here, right? So, I don't want to ruin it for you, but basically, the prof here tries to figure out their motives and their end goal, right? These people who are doing these things that are happening in front of our eyes, right? And of course, you wouldn't think that Isaac Newton will be writing books about the apocalypse. Right? Observation upon the prophecies of Daniel, the apocalypse of St. John, Isaac Newton. Quite interesting. I didn't know that. Well, here is the problem though, right? You did fix this by this slide here and what you said, but again, that whole region, okay, that whole region was melanated before the Arab tribes came in and invaded and pushed the people who were there further north, further south. Okay, so during this period we were talking about melanated people, right? And this just goes to answer the whole argument about how Christ is represented today and how he was actually he looked like, right? And we are talking about the people who perpetrated this lie, right? This lie, and they're the same people who are wreaking havoc all over the world right now as we speak, right? But again, here is a very important clue, right? 2939, yeah. This is what they don't want to talk about. This is the type of discussion they do not want to get into, right? Of course, which say they are, right? I'm an Israelite, like the OG Israelite. I'm the 12 tribes, 12 tribes. And these people came to us and learned our faith, all of them, and they appropriated them. because of, I don't know, jealousy or hate. I don't understand. And they're still wearing this facade, which is basically identity theft. But it's all gonna be revealed regardless of what they do, right? All of these things, right? Like, for instance, the Bible, right? One peculiar thing about the Bible, it ignores Cain. It ignores Cain. Even though, right, I was listening to a researcher, they did try to insert themselves into the current Bible that is circulating, right? Most of them, anyway, right? So this is about two types of peoples, and one has hidden himself by taking the identity of the other and pretending to be, right? So they are role playing, right? And this book here, the 13th tribe, is exactly the same attempt, right? Look at their menorah or whatever, and what do they say it represents, and what is the facts? Right? They are a contradiction, a obvious contradiction, but the world has been deceived, and even some choose to, you know, swim in the said delusion because of wealth, right? Kazaa immigrants community, the first impression one gains is a striking similarity between certain privileged position held by the Kazaa Jews in Hungary and Poland in those early days. Both the Hungarian and Polish sources refer to Jews employed in mint masters, administrators of royal revenue, controllers of salt monopoly, tax collectors, and money lenders, bankers. This parallel suggests a common origin of the two immigrant communities, as we can trace the origin of the bulk of Hungarian Jewry to the Maiga-Kazaa nexus. The conclusion seems self-evident, right? This is just an extract from the, right? But they are the blue, Ashkenaz. That's who they are, right? And I'm not on some racist or separating stuff or anything, right? These people are our brothers, you know, but again, they worship idols. So seeing eye to eye is impossible. Let's just say that. And these idols are what we call the fallen angels. Okay, so think of it like two brothers born on the from the same father, from the same mother, right? And one has made a contract or a covenant with God, and the other has made a covenant or a contract with Azrael, if I'm not mistaken, that's the name. Or what most people know as Lucifer. Literally, that is what is happening, right? Regardless of if you think this is a fairy tale, like I've heard some people say. Well, we shall see. Okay, we shall see, right? But the most important aspect, right? You have shown Ethiopia and Uganda to be part of the other tribes, but it's a whole of Africa. In every country, there are tribes that are part of the 12 tribes, right? And that would separate them from the locals, right? The non-Bantu people, right? Those are people we found and we made peace and coexisted for a long time, right? So they are straight in a spiritual sense, but that is the narrative here. Okay, one side is led by Michael, one side is led by Apollo or Apollyon. Like, how does this even happen? Like, you're betraying your own blood. You have your entire clan over there in Russia, and then you just sell them out. Or did you, I don't know, make a calculation that the damage won't be huge? Niggas, did you catch this over the waves? Oh, we got nigger terrorists. Wow. ISIS even. Eh? Well, the same playbook. They already have a guy or guys on standby to take over Iran. And these are the so-called royals who were exiled. Maduro is not the president of Venezuela, and his regime is not the legitimate government. Who gives you the right to declare such declaration, governor? I don't know. But he feels that he can make it, and he is making it, and he has made it. Maduro is the head of a Cartel de las Soles, a narco-terrorist organization which has taken possession of a country. Okay. And he is under indictment for pushing drugs into the United States. Okay. Rubio, this is what he said, or rather tweeted. Not a lot has come out. Okay, more information is coming out. And I shall give my view about this whole ordeal at the end of this, at the last slide pertaining to this subject. Big news coming out. This is the next target, it seems. Right? So let me ask something. Did we not know, or did we not cover them saying they would attack the residence of Putin? Or the last attack, you remember that car that blew up? So, what is this about? Well, all of these things that are happening, I believe, is part of the retaliation. Something weird is happening. It's a whole warfare. It's a whole warfield over there. But we shall find out, when one side wins, they usually change where they fight, and there is when we get to know what was really happening. Right? So the Israelis are saying no country will do it, and they are planning to go in themselves to disarm Hamas. Okay, I just wanna say that. And my question is mainly gonna be surrounding about this one here. And of course, this is what he said, and I'm just here to report, so to speak. A lot of statements coming out, right? So, like they said, they have lost contact. Let me tell you my theory. What I believe is some individuals were bought, right? Some individuals were bought. His security team, or the team that was appointed that day, or someone even higher, was bought. Right? Again, you have to, what are you looking at? You know, from the things that you have seen, what are you really looking at? Right? A couple guys with man pads could have done the job, finished the whole mission. And that's the truth. We know it somewhere deep inside us. But again, as usual, we do not like to speculate, so we wait. But again, like, come on, right? So, in a spiritual sense, I made a contract with this guy, no matter or regardless of how horrible some speculations have speculated him to be. Right? I don't know. And if the Venezuelans, like I speculate here, partook in this activity here, yeah, Venezuela, buckle up. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say to you. Buckle up. Until he's back over there, you have a problem. Right, as in this rich, right? This is all it comes down to, brothers and sisters, right? And you know what maketh such groups? It's the truth. Okay, it's the truth. Because I believe that this nationwide KKK chairperson and pastor who make such claims knows the truth. It knows that this is all of it. It's just African tradition, right? So they are trying really hard to take possession and exclude anybody else. So they come out with outrageous statements like this, right? And this is the same talking points these ultra nationalist people over there in Babylon, they live by this, right? They live by this. You know, they do believe that themselves to be from the lineages of the Israelites. They don't say it, but they believe it. They're gonna say it at one time, right? And then a whole thing is gonna break out and a lot of crying is gonna happen. Okay, but this is what drives this. Okay, because when they look at the Christ that the Catholics have created, right, not based on truth, they have just fictionalized it. They see themselves, they take it upon themselves to go out, right, and I don't know, do crusades and stuff, right? So finishing off, in this video here, he goes on about this guy Frank, right? I don't want to again ruin the his better narrator when it comes to, right, he is prepared, right? More cohesive, right? But I'm gonna dive into a very specific point that he said, right, or rather talked about extensively or somewhat extensively in a couple of videos, right? This is not the only video that he talked about these things, right, but a couple of videos, right? So let's jump to it. And of course, this particular group of people who are highly influential, right, they believe that God left, right, and we must become the masters, right, in his stead, right? And they do these rituals, right? He talks about the 33 degree and the significant events rather that have happened on those geographical locations. But I want to tie in the whole ordeal, right? Because I think I heard this before and it sounds familiar, right? So he talks about the steps of how these people are gonna go about this, right? So they talk about altering matter, right? Just to prove that you have achieved godhood, so to speak, right? You have to have the ability to alter matter, right? And you also have to kill a king. And of course, at the end of the day, you have to be able to create life, right? And for the professor, he speculates, or rather is of the opinion that nuclear science was them achieving this capability of altering matter, right? And of course, a big ritual reached its peak in Japan. And of course, we have to talk about the killing a king part, right? And of course, he went directly to JFK and where he was done in, right? That has also a 33 degree, just like the former. And now, the last thing that has been left, so he says, is AI, right? And people are confusing large language models with AI, right? AI is something else from what they say, right? From what they explain or what they expect it to be or look like, right? It is exactly as it's it is stated, artificial intelligence, right? So of course, this is all Antichrist, right? And of course, me and him, we can agree that these people are intentionally, through sin, speeding up prophecy, right? Operation Warp Speed, okay? They're gonna do this mass ritual that's gonna have mass casualties to speed up prophecy, okay? Again, them doing that is just fulfilling a prophecy, so there is no speeding of time or anything like that, right? Something that people don't know that it is out of their control happened that made them introduce this warp speed in 2020 or 2019. And that is the Israelite prince, right? It's like a lion urinating on its territory. This is what Apollo is doing. Right? They have said it, they have talked about it many, many times. They have shown you many, many times. Right in front of your eyes. So, let's decipher all of these three things and how are they antichrist, right? These steps that they wanna ascend to become Christ-like, right? The right hand of God. So, altering matter. First recorded miracle of Christ. Right? That and the multiplication of the fish and bread. And then we have the crucifixion. Right? And of course, in the question of life, we have the resurrection. Right? That is the hardest component, the soul within the body. That's what gives it life, right? So he showed that he is God, right? No human can do this. Okay? No human can do this. Okay? No human can resurrect himself. No human can change the state of matter to whatever is convenient. Right? And if it's a new state of matter, it's exactly that, a new state of matter, but it existed somewhere in some form. But again, it's a game of hide and seek. You have to really seek. Right? And then the resurrections that he did. Okay? Now, going deeper into the motives of these alchemists, right? Because it is a matter of fact that no human can do this without the help of science, right? That is the scientism movement that we have been talking about, right? Scientism, right? This new religion, right? That is, like you've seen, the tech bros, right? Those are the new cardinals and the new popes. Right? But this story has been told before, right? Because the whole point of Christ is to lead people to eternal life. You understand? And what do the sorcerers call this? Maybe the elixir of life, maybe the philosopher's stone. But again, what is that really but eternal life? Theirs you have to like recharge or something. So they are offering two, right? They are pretending like there are two ways that you can go about this. Right? You either do it by faith or you either do it by science. And the world is split like that. Right? Altering matter, gold to lead. Alchemy is sorcery, brothers and sisters. What do you think CERN is doing, right? The professor raised this whole discussion in his talk, right? We can go even further. Pinocchio. What is Pinocchio about, do you think? If not alchemy. these things with CRISPR. So they're gonna lie and lie and lie and lie and lie. But again, before us, brothers and sisters, we have options, and these are real. A figure is gonna come and say to you, through this technology here, we are able to achieve eternal life, basically live forever. And the other people, they're gonna tell you that is not the way. Only the one who made you, right? That divine spark that started all of this can sustain you for eternity. That's gonna be the other side arguing against. So again, my bigger issue is people are not really apprehending what is unfolding before our eyes. They are aware, they are observing, they are noticing, they're even adapting, but they do not apprehend. Why? Because the other part of this story is unseen. It's the spirit. And that is actually the bigger portion. Like 70% of this whole narrative is all spiritual. Right? So again, like he speculated that a big AI breakthrough is gonna be made in Israel, right? The synagogue of Satan over there. And of course, the promise of eternal life is gonna be made, right? Like for instance, like for real, you know, what is the best costume the devil could wear than the Israelite, you know, or as they call themselves, Jewish. I'm not saying this to be combative or anything like that. No, I'm not interested in that. I just want people to apprehend and understand the consequences of their choice and what is going to happen because of their choice. I'm nice enough to tell you of the consequences, right? I'm nice enough to tell you of the consequences, and the consequences are written in the book. You will seek death and you will not find it. Okay? So this breakthrough is coming. I've been knowing it's coming. Right? Now what better place to launch a promise of eternal life than at the pinnacle, right? At the birthing place of all of spiritual corruption. Right? The birthing place of all spiritual corruption. The peoples behind this, right? The specific tribe behind this. So yeah. It's like they grant you a wish, but the consequences are written in what do they call it? Tiny fine print. Okay. And of course, this punishment, because of people adapting this technology, yes, death will flee from them, right? Death will flee from them, but they will seek it for some reason, and it will go for, I don't know, 3 months or something, if I'm not mistaken. I have to recheck it. And people will suffer because of that decision of doing this. So I'm gonna tell you now, do not be deceived by what you're seeing with your naked eyes. Before you come into contact with these people, talk to your maker. Okay? Tell them, please give me words to use. Of course, be of use. But that is what is unfolding, brothers and sisters. A very real situation, but I don't see people really apprehending what is in front of them. I don't see it. Not yet. Some do, but they do not speak out, and that causes the whole thing to propagate. So speak up, conceal not. So I'm gonna leave it right there. Prince Easy, love you, signing out. Bye.